people here, and I think 18 people are signed up, so that's pretty good. This is different. So I'm here doing the lifestyle segment this week instead of the nutrition segment, and we decided for me to do kind of like a little bit of information about programming. I think in one of the earlier times we kind of solicited feedback, Kyle Estevez maybe asked something about programming. Maybe it was someone else, I can't exactly remember, but I think someone asked somebody about it. So we decided to take this lifestyle segment and talk about it. And hopefully what we'll do today is give you all, since you all are or mostly members of the gym, an idea behind CrossFit's programming methodology. I know Jeff touched on it a tiny bit in his What is CrossFit lifestyle segment, but like a little bit more specifically what we do, why we do at the gym, what we do and why we do it. And then maybe giving you some kind of tools to do your own programming, kind of to write your own program, where some of the things you will have to consider, like your equipment, and some of the things you won't have to consider, like you have to fit the class in an hour, right? Maybe you have 90 minutes to work out or something. So a lot of it will be overlap, but hopefully we'll touch on all of those things. If you have a question, feel free to chat it. And then if we need to stop and open up the unmute to dialogue about it, we can. And then we'll do a bunch of Q&A after kind of each segment to see if you guys have any questions. So I am going to do a share screen now, and I am going to go through a PowerPoint because I got to make another PowerPoint, so I'm excited. So group workout design, programming philosophy. So this Venn diagram kind of represents where I think, and again, like a humble opinion, the programming of a group class needs to lie. So in one circle, you have the designer or the person writing the workouts. And in another circle, you have an athlete or member, the person completing the workouts. And then in the last circle, you have the coach or whoever is facilitating the workouts. And all three of those people are really important to the design. And ideally, I think that the best programming kind of fits in that little light blue circle there when it pertains to group programming. The GPP you see is for general physical preparedness. There's definitely different strengths and weaknesses within a group, but group programming in CrossFit gyms is most specifically geared toward general physical preparedness. So all Bennett, like Jeff talked about what that means, right? So increase work capacity over broad time and modal domains, increase capacity over the 10 physical fitness skills, do your biomarkers end up being good and all that stuff. Oops, I went backwards. All right, individual design differs a little bit. So the designer is sometimes the coach. So like if I am designing for Mark, then I'm coaching him usually. Like I'm looking at his day-to-day micro workouts. Like what are your numbers looking like, and what does your technique look like, and what does your pacing look like, and stuff like that. The athlete's goals and the designer's roadmap are what dictates the program. So if someone comes to a designer and says, I want to be able to run a 5K, that's their goal. The designer sets a roadmap out for that person hitting that goal, and that's what becomes a program, an individualized program design. It is beneficial for every single person, but it is necessary for very few. And there comes a point when individual design can actually be like a detriment. And I can speak from personal experience with this, and I'll tell you why. So the slide says individual design is beneficial for all, necessary for only a few. Here's some exceptions: injuries, specialization. I want to put my other skills on the back burner and run a 10K. I want to put my other skills on the back burner and do a powerlifting meet, right? So that's specialization. That's what I mean by that. Extreme elite athletes. So are you a fitness athlete like that's doing extreme elite level fitness, or are you a very limited beginner? Those are the best times to really get into individualized program design. The reason I say that it can be detrimental is this next piece. Oops, sorry. The benefits of individualized design can easily be negated by the lack of community and constant coaching. So here's where I can give you like a little bit of a case study. I've been on an individualized design program for a really long time, and I've kind of exhausted a lot of general physical preparedness and linear progressions because my chronological age is older than I'd like to admit, and my training age is old too. But it is miserable to do workouts by myself. When I am working out with another person or with another person in the same vicinity, even if they're not doing the same workout, the training stimulus I get from a micro session is so much different than individual design. And whatever perfect little push-pull combination might be best for my physiology, doing a push-pull in a class with other people doing it and a coach who has eyes on me is going to trump that now for me in my athletic career. So just to put you, just kind of to go over my philosophy as far as individual design, group programming, and why. So we had those 3 circles. So what does the coach need? The coach needs a punctual class that flows from one section to the other. He or she needs to account for equipment limitations. They need to pair movements together for ease of teaching. So here's an example. We might do a strength system that has a clean complex into a conditioning piece that has power cleans, right? So we warm up the same muscles, we go over the same basic technique, we reinforce the technique, we get a strength stimulus there, we get a technique stimulus, and then we get to use the same workout, the same movement in the workout. So it helps the class flow nicely. Complicated movement combinations that require multiple different warm-ups and teaching progression. So here's an example. You have to warm up for pistols, squat snatches, and legless rope climbs. So a coach has to teach all 3 of those movements with pretty detailed progressions. There's very specific warm-ups for all 3 of those movements, and it will be really difficult to deliver a quality, class of quality instruction if I'm going to have to take from something. So that's what I mean by that thing. The punctuality of the first bullet point means I don't plan a 90-minute class for an hour session and handcuff the coach trying to get through all of it. These things are helpful when you're considering individualized programming or writing your own workouts, but they're not totally necessary. Like you can take the time on your own to warm up and practice a pistol, a rope climb, and a squat snatch if you're on your own sort of schedule there. So what do the athletes need? So this is you guys, the members, right? So on a daily basis, so every single workout needs to be fun, timely. Does it run in an hour? Accessible. Can most of the people do most of the exercises? Challenging. Is it challenging most of the people? Is the workout safe? Is it results driven and efficient? So is it part of a progression? Do I think I'm going to get a certain stimulus out of this? Or did I just like empty out a bunch of different cereal boxes and mix it up? Does it create accelerated adaptation? You get better and you get better quickly, right? So we don't want to draw this process out. We want to get as good as we can and as timely of a way as we can do it. Is it varied? Is it measurable? And is it trackable? So those are the things that you guys need in workouts. If you feel like you need something else in the workouts, being a designer of the gym and also having Janelle on the call right now is a great time to tell us if you need anything else on the workouts outside of those things in that paragraph. And you can write it in the text, or you can save it till the end. But think about it seriously. Okay, so designer consideration. So when I'm writing a workout, or when a designer may be writing a workout for a gym, this may be what he or she is considering when creating a structured plan. is there enough equipment and space? And I put rowers, for example, because, right, so a lot of times we get backed up on rowers, we get backed up on pull-up bars. When we're programming for the gym, so when me, Phil, and Janelle and I are writing, I'm sorry, I said me twice, like the dodgeball thing. Anyway, when the three of us are writing, we have to write 6 workouts for 6 days a week for 6 weeks. Not 6 workouts for 6 days a week. 1 workout for 6 days a week for 6 weeks. So we have to write kind of a 36-week block. So if y'all are curious as to what we need to do, this is specific to us. We have to consider special events. We have to consider holidays, and we have to consider competitions. And sometimes these things can go together, right? I have a holiday of Murph, I have a special event with a workout, and then maybe I have a competition, right? So we have to consider those things when we're writing programming, to not overdo movements or not, or fail to prepare you guys for whatever you're trying to do. And then we need to account for extraordinarily large or small classes, right? So a class of 35 people is way different than a class of 2. There are kind of best practices. So CrossFit headquarters has a programming module, an online one. You guys could probably have access to it. I don't think there's any prerequisites if you want to take it. It's probably like $60 to $100. Takes about 5 hours, I think. But the best practice, right? So variety is their king, right? Variety is king. I'm going to talk about variety as king and power output is queen. And those two things can be interchangeable. They can both be kings or they can both be queens. However you want it to fit, it's okay. But those two things are very important, and they're important. Creating workouts that elicit a high power output, and using variety to do that. But there are also best practices when it comes to assessments as well as progressions. So best practice when it comes to variety. So the first thing you need to know is that the majority of CrossFit programming, the bulk of the movements, not all of them, right? Is there a place for accessory workout or accessory work? Absolutely. But the bulk of the programming should come from multi-joint core to extremity high power movements. And Jeff talked a little bit about the different principles of those movements in the last lifestyle session, but basically CrossFit movements, right? And then here are the things you can vary. You can vary time domains. CrossFit has 4. Talk about a sprint, a short workout, a medium workout, and a long workout. And I can give you specific examples for those things. A sprint is usually sub 5 minutes. A short workout is usually sub 10. 10 to 20 or 10 to 19 is medium, and we think about long as 20 plus. You can vary loads and distances. So loads would be body weight, light loads, medium loads, or moderate loads, and heavy loads. We define heavy loads as something you can do less than 5 reps unbroken. Moderate loads are 6 to 19, and light loads are 20 plus. So like if I'm doing a hang power snatch or kettlebell swing, it's light for me if I can do 20 plus reps unbroken. And I'll get into this in a second. Modalities, right? So there's 3 basic categories all of our CrossFit movements fit into: gymnastics, monostructural or metabolic conditioning like cardio, and then weightlifting. There's a teeny bit, depending on what kind of burpee you're doing, of overlap in monostructural, but for the most part, those are the 3 categories. You have 2 types of workouts. You have a task priority and a time priority, so you can vary that. I have an asterisk by task because CrossFit headquarters recommends that more of your workouts are task priority than time priority. Then you have the amount of movements you can put in a workout. You have a single modality, a couplet, a triplet, or a chipper. So couplets and triplets have the asterisks because CrossFit wants most of the programming to come from couplets and triplets. Why? Because they usually contribute to the highest power output. Then you have compounding or complementing movement. So a compounding movement would be like a strict press, a handstand push-up, and then a dumbbell jerk. A complementing movement would be like a pull-up and a front squat, right? So 2 movements that really do not interfere with each other. if you program workouts that have more complementary movements or movements that don't interfere with each other, you will get a higher power output most of the time. That being said, putting in workouts that have compounding movements to work specifically muscular stamina and endurance is important and also needs to be part of the programming. Okay, sorry. All right, so assessments, best practices. The less modifications, the better. So I think that like if you are, so let's pretend we have an assessment piece, right? You guys come in on Monday and we have an assessment piece and it has like a variety of different movements with a variety of different scaling options. And I think that it's really hard for us to get, like, we know once we get back into that gym, especially, we like our barbell, we like our band, we like our dumbbell or whatever. It's hard to replicate that. So when you're looking at like true improvement on an assessment, the fewer things you have to change, the better. This is, let me put a caveat there. This is my specific opinion on the best practice of assessment specifically. The previous thing come from CrossFit headquarters. The best practice on variety. Is it measurable, right? So sometimes we might not get fit, but we might understand how to do a workout better and we might perform better on it, but it doesn't necessarily mean that we're more fit. So I think that it's important if the workout is a little bit more measurable. Is it repeatable, right? This kind of goes into the first thing with accessibility. Like if I do a workout where I have to scale with a banded pull-up and then I have to scale with maybe a box dip and then I have to shorten or change my run to a bike, and then like I do the workout again and I can't find the same band, or the same green band has more stretch or less stretch and the same bike's not there, and like it just creates like more variables you have to change. So the fitness variable, it's really hard to see if anything changed in that. So like different things that can challenge people, like think about how gross and disgusting like a 1 mile max effort run or a 2K row is, or like maybe an isometric chin over the bar hold, or maybe like a squat clean, or just like those, a deadlift, a bench press, 100 burpees for time, just like simple, just like capacity driven stuff. And then if you do scale it, does it still fit the requirements, right? If I scale it, is it measurable? Can I repeat the same scaling? Is it repeatable and is it accessible? Progressions, best practices. Let's jump back to HQ because this necessarily isn't totally my opinion. This comes from headquarters as well. They talk about using a template. So we want variety, but we don't want randomness. So creating like a 2-week template and laying out workouts that are varied to make sure you're not overdoing anything or programming day to day is a valuable tool. And usually what we recommend is kind of reevaluating every 2 weeks to make sure you're not hitting something, right? Like there's a lot of different ways to vary stuff. There's time domains and modalities and loading and reps and all kinds of stuff. So it's really hard to hit every single thing in 1 week. So think about a 2-week block when you're trying to hit a lot of your stuff. I think that the WOD, we're a CrossFit gym, so the WOD should be the priority and the accessory should be just that accessory, right? So if Grace is the workout and your shoulders and lower back are smoked from doing build to a heavy, not 1 rep max clean and jerk prior to Grace, and you sacrifice 40 seconds on a workout that should be like 2 to 5 minutes, like that's not the idea. We're going to have variety in the programming for you to get certain stimuli on certain days. So the accessory work should be treated as such. However, I have to admit that I am kind of notorious for sandbagging strength and skill work to really crush the work. So do as I say, please, not as I do. It needs to drive accelerated adaptation, right? So is the progression getting you better, or is it just stuff put together that where you're working on the same movement? So just because you're working on handstands every day, like every Monday for 52 weeks, does not mean it's a progression. So there needs to be some sort of gradual increase in challenges, right? You need to impose new demands in order to create adaptation. So a progression isn't just work on handstands every day on Monday. It is progressing the movement. It's principle based, just like basic principles of physiology there. I'm not going to get into them, but principle based. And then here is like exclusive to me, what I think about in our gym. So a little bit of this might be an overlap for Janelle and Phil, but a lot of this last part is a lot of my own sort of ideas. So when I get started, when you guys are getting programming from me, I am collecting observational data. So I am on the class, I am on the floor, right? Janelle, Phil, and I are on the floor a lot. We see athletes, we see what they're struggling with, and we're kind of brainstorming those. And I don't want to speak, Janelle, out of turn if that's, but I think we're kind of brainstorming. We're like looking at what people need to work on, and we're kind of formulating ideas of what we want to lay out. And then we kind of solicit y'all's feedback. Hey, what do you guys want to work on? We look at the New Year's goals. That's a big thing. Like we drive a lot of the programming near the beginning of the year for the New Year's goals. A lot of times people want to work on getting good at Murph or maybe the Open. So we're trying to solicit your feedback to find out what you want to improve as well. And then I think we each do this. We each think, what can I program well? What do I know good rep schemes for? What do I know good progressions for based off of my personal background, right? So whatever that might be for me or Janelle or Phil, a little bit of that goes into what we give to the class, right? That's our part of the Venn diagram. Or it might just be something we're really interested in. We do 6 days a week for 6 weeks. We talked about this. However, if you're doing yourself, doing 3 days on, 1 day off is what the main site does. 5 days on, 2 days off is another good sort of like split. And I think a lot of more popular programming blogs right now are 3 days on, 2 days, 1 off, 2 days on, 1 off. So kind of a hybrid of that. But rest days are important. So when you're programming for yourself, make sure you're resting. And then I think about special considerations, right? Do we have Bring a Friend Friday? Do we have Memorial Day Murph? Do we have the Open? Do we have gyms closed? Do we have stuff like that? And then things that I'm keeping in mind. When I do RX loads, distances, and movements, I am trying to challenge the top 25% of that particular workout. So let me give you an example. A heavy deadlift day, well, that's not a good example. So let's say we have a deadlift EMOM, right? And I say that I want people to deadlift a certain weight 5 times every minute for 15 minutes. I'm going to base that weight on the 75th percentile of deadlifters. I'm not going to base it on the 75th percentile of the marathon runner in our gym. Does that make sense? Just like, cool. Yeah. So like, for instance, everybody is different for every workout, right? So if you have a workout that has a heavy deadlift and you're great at it, and it has maybe some jogging and you're cool, then maybe you're going to be in the 75th percentile and you'll get challenged. But if the workout you'll get challenged with the RX load. But if the workout has muscle ups, and just because you're in the 75th percentile for deadlifts and burpees, doesn't mean that the designer is going to hold back the muscle up difficulty because you're not in the 75th percentile for that movement. So when creating RX loads, distances, and movements, that's kind of what I'm thinking about. And I also want to occasionally allow higher skilled athletes to be challenged, right? So like today's 50-second L-sit was a nightmare, right? I could barely do it, but maybe we have some gymnasts in there and this is their one time to be challenged in something. So occasionally throwing something in there that's scalable, but really high skilled is okay. When I'm creating time caps and time domains, I think that when the athlete scales the workout appropriately, right? When they scale appropriately, most of the athletes should finish most of the workouts most of the time. So what that means is 80% of my class is going to finish 4 of the workouts under the time cap every day of the week. Or I'm whatever, I screwed that up. But you guys get what I'm talking about right there. I just want it to be I want it to be inclusive. And that is a lot up to the accepting, scaling themselves, or accepting proper coaching to be scaled, right? So like if I create a time cap for Grace that's 6 minutes and someone shrugs through it at 1:35 in 20 minutes, that's not something that I'm worried about unless that athlete scaled appropriately. I try to touch monostructural movements, rowing, running, and double unders once a week. And I try not to do them more than twice a week. And whenever I do them, I try to put them in different formats. So you might have a short shuttle sprint and then like an 800-meter run later in the week. I try to touch time domains at least once a week, but not more than 3 times a week. That's harder than you think. And then I try to create an even distribution of the modalities: gymnastics, monostructural, and weightlifting. And then last thing is, when I get started, I create the stuff that, right, I brainstorm. Hey, we want to work on pull-ups and squats. So I'm going to say, all right, I'm going to find a 5-rep max front squat because I don't have to bail. So it's safe. I like it. And then I'm going to find like some sort of pull-up, right? We did 40 for time. I think before I did 40 strict for time or something like that. So I'll create those pre and post assessments. And then I'll brainstorm workouts and progressions that fit those progressions, keeping in mind all of the things of variance. And then I'll add skill development, and I will try to use outcome-based decision-making so the program is malleable. Janelle and some of the coaches I can attest, like, hey, look, I did this workout and it comes up in 2 weeks and there's no way we should be doing a 50-second L-sit. So let's go ahead and change that, and then we'll get it changed for y'all. So we try to do that. And then I try to account for that Venn diagram, right? What's good for the coaches and easy for them to do, what gets my philosophy and my vision across, and what gets the athletes results and is fun and keeps them motivated. Those are the things. And then I think that 3 little tips I would say is, there's a lot of good workouts and combinations out there. Don't feel like you need to reinvent the wheel. Test workouts, right? Before you give them to, you can test, even if you're going to give a workout to yourself, you can test movement patterns in EMOMs and stuff and be like, oh, whoa, that rep scheme's way too hard. I need to pull back off of it. Or if like George is making a workout for Louise, he can test it himself to see what sort of stimulus it has. And then try to be empathetic, right? Like, I think that there's so many different levels of experience and athleticism and strength and endurance and flexibility and everything in there. Like, I try to be as empathetic as I can to all of us, right? So I don't want I'll use Josh because I think that Josh will be okay with me saying this, but I don't want like a Josh Brandt leaving the class being like, man, I didn't get challenged enough. And then I don't want somebody that just came out of fundamentals leaving the class being like, I don't belong here. So that's the rock and the hard place that the 3 of us try to navigate between. In conclusion, I think be creative, keep it simple. Philosophies can be challenged, but principles of exercise cannot. And the 2, like I said, the 2 kings, the 2 queens, or the king and queen equal are variety and high power output. So that is going to conclude my PowerPoint. I will open up. Okay. Do you generally consider let me answer Celeste's question, because she has it on chat right here and I missed it a little while ago. And then I'll open up and hear questions. So she said, do you generally consider the OLI Y programming when hitting the Y program? Typically, no, and here's why. We have a, a, a wide variety of specialty classes, and those specialty classes typically have more deliberate progressions to specifically specialize in one of those things, right? So I think that if the Oli class might have like a specific squat program, but not our whole membership is doing Oli. So I'm not going to say I'm not going to put wall balls in workouts like on Oli days, because then people like miss the wall balls. So if I can say, Celeste, if there was like one or two other classes, I probably would try to work that together. But we have Kate, Kathy, the Oli class, which is Kathy as well. I'm at powerlifting strongman, muscle and flow, endurance. Am I Oli? Am I missing one, Molly? Janelle? So we have a lot of specialty classes. It's really tough to not overload a move. Like, it's just really hard. I hope that answers the question, Celeste. All right, you guys Jeff, can you unmute people, or do I have to unmute people, or? All right, so George asks, have you had any thoughts about how one would program for when we reopen the gym, given that our program is currently different to our usual? Well, I think that we said when we reopen, we will have the last designer just kind of pick back up. I think that we are varied enough to where anybody should be able to jump in at any point. So here's an example, right? So let's pretend that you don't have a barbell at home, but Laura has been snatching the whole time she's been on break. So let's bring that into the group class. And now we have someone who's been snatching in the group class for 3 months, and we have someone just out of fundamentals. We're going to give that person, Amanda, the same day, right? We're going to give them the same workout. We're just going to treat it a little bit differently. So I would say that like autonomy is important there. Like, okay, maybe I'm not ready to go into a squat snatch on day one. Maybe I need to do some power snatches. And I think that kind of putting your own self-regulating on that would be important. I can't speak for Janelle nor Phil, but I can tell you that I would reopen on Monday or whenever it is with whatever I wanted to. Like probably a barbell pull-up benchmark, to be quite frank, just to like be like, people have been missing this. So the opposite of what you said. We would expect to see more aggressively scaling as we transition back to a gym environment. Possibly, yeah, I think so. I do think that a lot of this has allowed people to kind of fix little nagging injuries or mobility issues that they've been kind of stuck on, or even practice movements like pistols, handstands, or double unders. I feel like I fall into a pattern of reps volume when I'm on my own. Yeah, I agree, Alvin. I do the same thing sometimes. Think about writing out a couple of days in a row so that you know that those movements are going to come up and you don't need to keep throwing stuff in the soup, right? So like, I'll be like, all right, what do I have access to? Okay, a dumbbell. All right, I'm going to do pistols and shuttle runs and dumbbell snatches. Wait a second. What about snatches and overhead squats? All right. And then like, and you just start like throwing so much stuff in there. I think if you put out like a couple of days in advance, it might be helpful so that you don't like overdo something, being like, all right, I know I'm going to work on overhead squats tomorrow, so power snatches are okay today, and I'll just leave it at that. Yeah, probably Celeste. Yeah, you guys can say questions. Are people muted still? Anybody have any questions?
I still really like to do Murph, Brandon, at the end of May. Is there a maximum amount of volume that you would recommend Like, don't do more than a half Murph in preparation of Murph? Like, is there some volume that you're like, it's too much to do this volume prior to it? I don't know if that makes sense. I don't want to overtrain for it because it's such a long workout.
Yeah. So, the longer the duration of the workout, and if it is high intensity, it's just going to take a really long time to recover. So people that have you might even have it on your special watches that is like, oh, I just did a 10K. I need 126 hours to recover. So I would think about hand care as another aspect of it. If you're doing pull-ups and it's sweaty and it's Murph, even if they're jumping pull-ups or banded pull-ups, you can still rip, right? So those are the things that I would say I would keep in mind. And remember that we want variety. So doing Murph, what's today? April? Memorial Day is the end of April. Doing a version of close to the volume of Murph once or twice before now will probably help you. But doing Murph every single day before Murph is not going to get you better at Murph, if that answers your question.
Mm-hmm.
Laura, there's other ways to work on those skills too. So if you want to work on your push-ups, instead of always doing pull-ups, push-ups, squats in order to prepare for Murph, you could do one day, you can pick Wednesday, I'm going to work on my push-ups and have your workout involve a few more push-ups than normal. And the same would go for, I'm going to work on my squats one day and have more squats than normal on that specific day as well. So that you're not always grouping them together. Mm-hmm. You can still spread them out and still have get that stimulus and that practice.
Yeah, that's all very accurate and true. Right. So if you can do the number of push-ups in Murph and you don't have to do the squats. And then the next day you can train the squats. And then, I know what I was going to say. The design by nature right now has a lot of body weight, horizontal pressing and running. So, and air squats, right? Just kind of by nature. So hopefully that it'll kind of work out, that we get better at it. Does anybody have any questions? Do you guys, so this is the first kind of forum we've had with any invitation of the members to dialogue with us about programming. I thought that there might be more questions. Not really. Okay. Well, can you talk about making things fun? Yes, Allison White said, can you talk about making things fun? If you guys go back in your mind to the PowerPoint, the first thing, I think the first word on the what do athletes need is fun. Well, CrossFit is special because in order for you to get results, you need to actively pursue improvement on various skills and capacities. So what I mean by that is you have to try to get better at whatever it might be, snatches, pistols, running, push-ups, whatever, in order to get the full benefit of CrossFit. If you go into Orange Theory and you sit on the machine for 45 minutes, you're getting pretty much the full benefit of Orange Theory. And you can do that on day one, and that might be fun. And in order to kind of have fun at CrossFit, the community is a giant part of it, obviously. But I think part of it is seeing those little minuscule improvements and taking joy in them, in that little progress. And I think that in order to do that, you have to actively be engaged in improving whatever we're doing for the day, even if you hate it. right? Even if it's double unders, even if it's handstands, even if it's heavy back squats, even if it's sit-ups. I'm trying not to leave out any modalities, but like you have to actively try to improve it in order to get results in CrossFit. And the minuscule results are, I think, where people, plus the community, where people draw the fun from. Okay, this is super helpful. I'd love to hear more about the why breakdown during classes so that I can remember how things are flowing together. Okay, Alvin asked more about the why breakdown before class, and Celeste said our pistol is my favorite movement ever. I don't hate them. I'm gonna get to Alvin's. Maybe can you clarify a little bit?
Yeah, sorry, I wrote that down. I realized it didn't frame a question. I think it's more, sometimes I feel like coaches are really good at narrating. We're doing this because it builds into this, and then we are part of a broader cycle, and like these things stack up. And I think I just forget about that. So like this call right now is really helpful to hear about, like, oh yeah, this and these things go together. And so that's why you see them over 3, 4, 5 day sequences. So I think the more of that I get, I'll just become more mindful. Because sometimes it just feels like, I don't know, we're doing this thing. Cool, thanks.
Oh, okay. Hold on. I think, let's see. Give me just a sec. Great, there we go. And then where's my Zoom box? You guys are here again. Okay. So, was there another question after Alvin's? Kathy's, I think. Kathy, I'll get right to you in just a second. I want to share screen, right? So I pulled some old workouts, and I put 2 weeks together so you can kind of see what was happening. And unfortunately for Alvin's question, I stripped the warm up and the cool down out of the workouts. So you can't really see the why behind it, but you can see other stuff, right? So in the first day we have a longer, or like a medium workout with some heavier loading and some higher skilled things. And then because, that's where we are here, we're going to move into an interval workout that has almost very little skill and a totally different time domain. And we have a skill development here that kind of leads into the workout. So then I went up to long there in a total time domain, but short if I'm looking at intervals. So I'm looking for something short here on Wednesday, and I have a power snatch because I haven't really pulled off the ground a whole lot other than Monday for a couple of clusters, but most of it has been pressing and bounding. So I have a power snatch where I'm pulling off of the ground in skill, and then I'm going into a power snatch with an upper body gymnastics movement that opposes the push-up with the bar muscle up here. So I don't know if that's helpful, kind of seeing that, but this is the document that I don't think you guys get to see, that the coaches see. So they can see the 6 days, and they can see the time caps, and they can see the skill development. We also have the warm-ups and cool downs in here too. Like I said, I just stripped them because I wanted you guys to be able to see 2 weeks simultaneously. Because like I said before, we're kind of looking at a 2 week window versus a 1 week window to get kind of a variety of things in.
Yeah, that's super helpful, Brandon. That's exactly it. I think that's what I meant by, like, now that it's all happened, understanding why were they sequenced that way? What were we building towards? So yeah, super.
Yeah. And I think on a macro level, Alvin, if I had like a 6 week thing up, I could highlight and I could be like, okay, here's strict pull-ups, here's strict pull-ups in the workout. Here's a couple more strict pull-ups in the workout. Here's strict pull-ups and strength. Here's more strict pull-ups and strength. Here's heavier strict pull-ups, and so on. Laura asked, does the gym track data about how frequently members go to the gym? Like the percentage of members attending Monday, Wednesday, Friday? If so, does that play into programming at all? Yes. We find that, I find at Mid-City that Tuesday is the heaviest day. I think it catches the 2-time-a-weekers. It catches the everyday-a-weekers. Sometimes it even catches the I'm going to go Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Fridayers. So those days are tough. Also, too, I think on Tuesday we might have an Oli class maybe at Mid-City. We might have my fundamentals occasionally. We might have y'all doing powerlifting, and we might have a group class at 6. So it's trying to keep all that into consideration, right? Like, I think we do. Sometimes we're surprised, and sometimes things buck the trend, and we should, we try to be adaptable. I think our staff does a pretty good job of being adaptable, giving everybody the workout that they want. But yeah, sometimes we get surprised. But I like to say, we talk about this with the staff a lot. If an outlier becomes a trend, then we make a change. So if I have 27 people in a Saturday class every day, here comes like Selena's coming in, we have an intern, or like stuff like that. So we do try to make changes. Some are quicker, right? I can put another coach in a class sometimes right away. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer to get 2 extra rowers. But yeah, we try to keep that into consideration. That's a good question. Does anybody have any other questions? All right. Trying to think if there's anything I want to conclude with. Like I said, I think that there's a really, like, I waited all day long to do today's workout with like Amanda and Molly and Janelle watching me and Amanda do the workout on concrete, instead of going to the track earlier and doing it the way that I wanted to do it. Because I think that the stay-at-home order has exacerbated my outlook on the community aspect of the importance of the community aspect on this. So I find myself pulling my hair out when I don't get to see people, or at least like hear a cue every now and then, or like a good job, or like or whatever. So I think that it's really, when you've done your own thing for so long, you really kind of try to strive to have some sort of like unity and community with someone and over something. And I think that that's one of the things that I would emphasize the importance of at our gym. I think when people are doing the same workouts at the same time to the same standards, like it really kind of pushes people to get their best results. So anyway, thank you guys for your time. I hope that this was helpful as far as giving you some ideas as to how to write your own workouts. Remember, you want varied workouts. And we talked about the points of variance. You want to create a high power output by putting most of your workouts in the short and medium time domain, using couplets and triplets of complementary movements. And all that being said, that doesn't mean chippers aren't important, doesn't mean accessory work isn't important, it doesn't mean compounding movements that interfere with each other aren't important. They're just not the most important part of the programming. I think that's where people kind of get lost. The bulk of the programming is high intensity. Sorry, I was reading some of the comments. Cool. Anyway, high intensity couplets and triplets, bulk of the programming, community, push hard, get results, rah rah. Thank you guys for coming tonight. If you have any input on what you would like us to discuss in the future, you can give that to us, and it will drive our topics. So it was nice to have everybody. Again, this is the highlight of my day, seeing other people's faces. I love my child and my wife a lot. but it's nice to see other people's faces. So you guys have a really good evening, and I'll probably see you in class or on Zoom next week.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Brandon.
Thank you.